must say that every time I hear the bumper, I feel some sort of energy. Do you as well from back at home? It's so exciting to have you watch the show today. This is the Arrive Alive, and I don't want to say so much. I just want to say hello and where you are watching us from. Ask your questions about everything aviation, maintenance, and safety, and all those things you've wanted to ask the professors that you didn't get to ask. Today is a fun day to actually ask them because Moses Wambua is here. He is, of course, an aircraft maintenance engineer. Somebody once said it's engineer, if you remember. But I'm so glad that you're here. We are also on Facebook at Lookup TV, on Twitter at Lookup TV. Use the hashtag, The Morning Drift, for my team to actually get your tweet real quick, retweet it, and so I can sample that to the rest of the public. And today, Moses, it's good to have you.
Thank you.
I wish you came in with an aircraft. Let me tell you. So sometimes we've had people come in with bikes in here, you know, cyclists and those who skate.
Yes.
And I've always had this big vision of having you guys land your aircrafts in studio, but it's a way too big dream, is it?
Yes.
How are you?
I'm quite well. And I'm grateful to be here with you and to share what basically it is about safety when it comes to the aviation industry, focusing on aircraft maintenance. Yes. You know,
speaking of maintenance, I feel like maintenance is like the heart of safety.
It is
on air, on road, on a train, in a ship.
Yeah.
It's just as much as you maintain your body to be healthy, to actually do and no hassle and bustle.
Yes.
That's how maintenance is.
Yes.
So please, you know, just start with maintenance as a very key aspect of safety in matters aviation.
In matters aviation.
Yes.
Okay. So we'll start with a very simple example. This is an aircraft which probably a company has bought it. And it's meant to give profits to that company. And at the end of the day, we are transporting people or transporting cargo or doing aid works. And so you come to realize that for that aircraft to be in service or to be in operation, there has to be something going on just to maintain it. And you come to realize that once that has been taken care of, everything runs smoothly. They will say that aviation industry is quite regulated, more or less like medicine. Probably you yourself as a patient in a hospital, you won't allow a doctor who's not licensed.
Not at all.
Or who's not conversant, probably with what your nose is causing you to have issues with. And so, because aviation is quite a strict area of transport, there has to be that regulation. There has to be that law that is being followed for it to be in according to the safety standards. And so, being an aircraft maintenance engineer, I will go to work and do what I'm meant to do. But at the end of the day, I won't just use the knowledge and the skills that I have learned, that I have in my mind, but I will follow the book.
You guys follow the book to the latter. You know, you are one of those professionals who are said to follow the book, and this time not the Constitution per se, but there is a book in regards to maintenance in aviation.
I'll give you a very simple example of like an aircraft has come for a service in the automotive industry they call it a garage, but for us we call it a hangar.
Okay.
And so an aircraft has come for just a small check, and probably I've been assigned to do that check or that inspection. Skillfully, I might just go and just use what is in my mind. But if the line manager or the maintenance manager is around and just sees me doing my work out of my mind, he will kick me out.
There's a manual?
Because I don't have a paper.
Okay.
Just to confirm and ensure that everything has been followed.
Can we be a little more inquisitive? And, you know, because usually when I say this all the time, just to remind motorists on the road, because I'm more familiar with a car, is you need to check your tires, you need to check your oil, you need to check your brakes. Because you said an aircraft can be brought for a small checkup.
Yes.
But really, to what extent is it a small checkup or a big or more extensive checkup?
Let me actually, before I even give the aviation side of it, I'll use a car.
Okay.
Because everyone has an experience with a car. Most of the people will just go, let's say, for example, they have a flat tire or they're having a puncture or something like that. They feel like probably this tire requires 32 psi. So I go and put it, and then that's it. But not everyone will know that on the driver's seat, the door itself, when you open, somewhere there is a certain kind of like paper that has been plastered to show you that this tire requires this pressure, this tire requires this pressure. Not everyone knows that.
I didn't.
And it's just well kept in that, or rather it has been stamped nicely on the door, somewhere around the door, on the driver's seat.
Are you going to say that again for everyone else who missed that beat? For all the drivers, you said there are certain things we overlook or just don't see.
Yes, exactly.
Maybe you didn't know about this. Please say it again. There's somewhere at the driver's door.
The driver's seat door.
Yes.
You will see a reference. Just a small paper that is showing you that the front tires require this amount of pressure. While the rear tires require this amount of pressure. And you come to realize that has been kept there for a certain reason. And that is to maintain the tires that you're using. And the pressure that has been put there can withstand the kind of loads, or rather the forces, the entire car will cause while it's being driven. And so when it comes to aviation,
yes,
right from the simplest thing to the hardest task,
yes,
which is basically, you know, just as I've told you, aviation industry or rather aircraft maintenance is regulated. And in this case, it has been put into different types of, can I call them inspections and works or exercises. So you come to realize that there are different types. And every company has to do what? Follow them.
Every company?
Every company.
So there's nothing like, we don't follow rules and regulations because we are above the law?
No.
You have to?
You have to.
Okay.
Because when you register an airline, you don't just register an airline to conduct transport services. There has to be also maintenance services, because if that aircraft falls by chance in any of your flight schedules, you'll be the one to answer. And the question will be, did you follow what was in the book? Did you employ people who have been licensed? Or did you employ people who can work under scrutiny and criticism? Come to realize that if I did a certain task, someone has to come and confirm that I did it the right way. And I think there is something that most people know in the aviation industry: a system isn't just a system by itself.
All right.
There is a replica of it in the same aircraft.
Tell us more.
Like, I'll give you, for example, we all know that a plane has a captain
yes,
and a first officer.
I believe so.
Let me use
the terminology. Okay,
an assistant to the captain. An assistant to the captain. But if you look at the systems, you'll come to realize that, let's say, for example, there is a system to tell you the air temperature. It is not just one. There is one for the captain, and there is one for his assistant. And why is that? So that in case one is faulty, they can compare with the other one. And you come to realize that with such kind of way of doing things, there is that redundancy.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Back in school, we were taught about Murphy's Law. Murphy's Law is basically that if something can go wrong, it will go wrong.
I think the other, you know, the other engineer that came used that same. I like how you guys bring out that aspect of if something has to go wrong, it will go wrong.
It will go wrong.
Okay.
Whether we discuss about it or not, it will go wrong.
So if we bring that aspect here on the roads, is this then an accident or a crash? Because we usually say some accidents cannot be avoided, or accidents pretty much cannot be avoided, but you can avoid a crash.
Yes.
So if something has to happen, it will happen. That is an accident,
Exactly.
not a crash.
Yeah.
Some things are avoidable.
Yes.
Okay.
And you can take an example of, let's say, for example, you decide to use a motorbike, let's say from Yaya Center to town, and probably the person who you've boarded, to you, he doesn't look like someone who's up to the task. He's not really into it. And so you look at the way he's driving that motorcycle, the way he's overtaking cars, it's not correct, the correct way. And so something in yourself tells you, no, I think I need to just tell this guy, stop a little bit, let me get out, and instead find other means of transport. And that is basically what your sense is telling you. And that is because of that Murphy's Law. If something can go wrong, it will go wrong. Whether you try to make it as perfect as it is, it will still go wrong in one way or another. And so when it comes to aircraft maintenance, we have what we call checks. And now I want to give you just an example of it.
Yes.
You see, this is a company. It has, let's say, for example, 10 aircrafts. And they are all in operation. They have a flight schedule, all of them. But you'll come to realize that that flight schedule has been arranged in such a way that when one has to go for a very serious check, the others will be able to, are still running. Their schedules are still running.
The serious check?
Yes.
Okay.
And what do I mean by a serious check? We have checks ranging from you just going to check whether there is oil to that aircraft being dismantled to piece by piece. And when I say piece by piece, I mean you have a picture of the entire aircraft intact, and then it has been dismantled to the point of you have the chair here, you have a simple tool like, can I call it what the pilots call it, a yoke, or something that you normally see, pull it up and down.
Yes, especially in the movies, thank you.
Yes, exactly. To a simple hardware like a bolt or a screw.
It's totally
dismantled.
Okay,
and why is that?
That's a check.
That's what that last complete check that aircraft has to go through. And normally it takes place around 4 to 6 years after the operation of that aircraft, or after a certain number of flight hours. And you come to realize that yes, every aircraft has to go through all these checks. Yes, typically there are just 3: just A check, C check, and D check. And they are, you look at the hierarchy of those checks, is just a matter of the timeline.
Okay.
The A check will just be done within a 24-hour cycle. Like an aircraft has come and it is in transit. And so my work is just to go and see, is there any leak somewhere? Is there, like, the oil, is it, do I have to refill it? Are the tires in good condition? Do they need some kind of repressurization? Just such kind of things. To a C check, which is more or less like a medium check. And that one will take place probably if there has to be just a small but kind of serious check that will involve that aircraft staying on ground
All
for
right.
at least 48 hours.
Okay.
Or even 72 hours, around 3 days. But when you come now to the last one, which I've just told you right now, which is basically, it's like an annual, but pretty close to 4 to 6 years. And that one, you're just trying to see, how has this aircraft been performing all through?
Yes.
And how has it, are the systems really just as we found them when we started using it? What needs to be replaced? How is the skin of that aircraft? You see, for example, that aircraft as it is going up,
Yes.
you'll just use an example of a car. You drive a car for 10 years without repainting it. You will definitely see the skin of the car, kind of some cracks and such kind of things. Now you can imagine this is an aircraft that is going up there and it's not experiencing the same forces that a car would experience, but it is experiencing what the aviation would call aerodynamics forces.
All right.
Or the forces that are surrounding its flight. So you come to realize that probably the engine must have to be replaced. Something like the toilet system,
Yes.
which probably isn't really functioning the way we wanted it. We
But
have
it's
to
very
replace
essential,
it.
yes.
It's still essential. It has to be removed and then you replace it. So you come to realize that all this has been placed just to ensure safety. You know, well, us, when we do all this in our field, we are not really focused on, I need to finish this by tomorrow.
Ah, you're not in a
I
hurry.
need to finish. Yes, the pressure is still there, but my mindset is telling me the first thing at the forefront.
Safety first.
Safety first.
Let me just take that back to the viewer. It's very important, as people watch back at home and from wherever they are, that, like you said, let me bring us back to the roads. And even why people take, a flight, by the way, is to get there faster. It's going to be 45 minutes across counties.
Yeah.
That is Mombasa, Nairobi. You want to get there faster. But the engineer here is talking about, even as he does his maintenance, unlike you who goes around your car 5 minutes and you're like, okay, let's roll.
That's right.
Safety fast, so take your time and actually check that particular vehicle. We're talking about mechanics. Sometimes someone, let me come and bring us back home now. To those of us who are, most of the people who watch Arrive Alive in Madereva, you take your car, like you said, just the tire burst, but the mechanic says, and for that, in that matter, we see them as engineers, tell you, we're going to have your car here for about for more hours. And people go like, Kwanini? It's a very small thing.
It's a small thing.
So at the end of the day, you people don't have to rush to finish what it is. You ensure that there's safety first.
Yes.
Amazing.
And you will still feel the pressure, like everyone is telling you, you need to finish this work with time. But yes, I have a timeline, but I have to do this according to the books. I have to do this according to the regulation. And that's why you can have a company that has a very huge manpower, but not everyone is doing the work according to what is expected.
Can we paint a different picture now of why you are really emphasizing on the maintenance? Because just like the heart, if it doesn't beat, you're dead. If you do not take this, because there are engineers watching today, you're on your way to licensing as well. And if you play with this part of maintenance, what are we looking at? Because everyone seems to be, focused on you guys. We depend on you all. Yes.
When you board an aircraft, let's say you're going to Mombasa from Nairobi.
Yes.
First thing is you are happy you're boarding an aircraft. And two, you're just comfortable at your seat. But you don't know what's going on around you. You don't know what's this that is taking you from the ground to the air, 10,000 feet plus, and then you don't know what is sustaining you up there, and you don't know what's going to take you back to the ground.
Absolutely.
And it's not because you don't want to know, but I always say it's like back in your mind is just that small leap of faith that you feel if the company has given you an aircraft to take you from here to there, they know very well they've maintained it. That's why when accidents happen, there's always that question of, why this company? What's been going on here? I'll give you an example of a company that manufactures planes. And in this case, the Boeing.
Yes.
Yeah. And I'm pretty sure back then, I think around 4 to 5 years ago, there was an accident involving an Ethiopian airline. And later on, some Lion Air airline that is Indonesia.
Yes.
And sadly, we lost everyone. Why? Because that company had reached a point where it was manufacturing planes for the sake of, we need to sell as much as we can.
So it was commercial?
Commercial.
Okay.
We need to sell as much as we can. And there are systems which they were overlooking, even after installing into them. And so you could really feel it when the CEO of the company was being questioned by the Congress in the US. Why is it that you're doing this? Why is it that your company is manufacturing planes and they are not following standards, and you're still selling planes to airlines without ensuring that everything is correct? And you could feel the pain that guy is just showing with his face.
Non-verbal.
And eventually, he decided to do what? Resign. Because he realized he had accepted his mistake. And so, back to you as a passenger now.
Yes.
You've gone to Mombasa, you've arrived safely. You take your bags and you go and you go on with your business. But have you ever asked yourself why some of these flights are very expensive?
Can I push that to the viewer as well, so they can let me know because I think what we have thought for a while is because you get there faster. Mostly you're comfortable. It's probably a luxury for some people.
Luxury, yes.
That's what they say. Yes.
Now, luxury might be a part of the reason, but because someone who's sitting at the economy class, business class, first class, and so the fares are different. But cumulatively, everyone who has boarded that aircraft, let's say for example, this aircraft, I call it a Boeing 777, and probably it has 450 people in total.
Yes.
And so with the different classes and the amount of money, the total amount of money that will be collected probably will cater for the fuel, maintenance and everything. But you come to realize that even with the aircraft itself that you're using, it's not just some 50 shilling body that you're using. In our industry, we are dealing with very expensive modes of transport because an aircraft is not something you just wake up in the morning and say, I'm going to buy. It's not even a car that you will just wake up in the morning and say, in 2 years, I want to get this one. It is something that is more than probably 50 million, quite expensive. And you can imagine, you buy a very expensive aircraft, right from a commercial aircraft to a private jet.
Yes.
Very expensive. And it offers you the service that it's expected to give you.
Yes.
But no maintenance. Nothing is being followed to the letter. And when it comes on ground, no checks, even the simple things are not being done. That's when now you start realizing that your money is fading off slowly by slowly. And you're now getting losses. And
even not the losses, the lives that are at risk.
Exactly, the lives that are at risk.
And usually when there are accidents on the air, you know, it's always it's very minimal that your life
Yes.
Is going to be saved. I do want to say that, but I'm looking at how it is important to have maintenance at the center of aviation. I'm seeing comments on Facebook. Allow me to acknowledge and, of course, appreciate them. Edgar Handsome Wanyahururu, always a fast comment. Thank you very much for tuning in. Hazard Simiyu, Kajiado is tuned. Do they have an airstrip in Kajiado?
Yes, they do.
They do?
Yes.
All right. Thank you very much for that. Martin Gichuki saying, as usual, watching live around the city, my show. I like when you own it, saying my show. He's a Boda Boda rider, and I like that he's picking, stuff from you, including discipline, integrity, as far as aviation is concerned. Mr. Worotet, hello. We miss you. He's saying Karwa City tuned in, Doha, Qatar. Road safety is a message of love. God bless you and the whole team. Thank you very much. I hope the crew has received a blessing, including yourself. Yes. I can see here Martin saying, listening carefully on behalf of my son. Remind Moses of my wish that my son joins the air, watching around the city. He wants his son to, of course, be part of you guys. A pilot. Yes. Yeah, so we wish him all the best. You'll touch on, of course, training, because you're on your way to licensing. And I want to know, with all this knowledge, it still seems to be, you seem to be adding a lot more. So it never ends for aviation. I'm seeing Loganez. This is a very difficult name. Loganez McCoy saying, interesting listening to my friend, and that's your friend, and competent engineer Moses talk about safety and educating us on aircraft maintenance. Did I pronounce the name correctly? Because they're saying that's your friend.
It's actually Loganez.
Oh, okay. So thank you very much for tuning in. And of course, ask as many questions as possible. You have really laid a lot of emphasis on maintenance and how you have to follow to the latter what the regulations are. I'm seeing not much of corruption goes in around aviation, because that's what we're fighting on road safety. And I want to hear your aspect on that, because you've talked about your personal initiative as an engineer. When you go there, you take your time despite the pressure. We've had so many accidents happen on the road. How then do you get to, withstand that pressure as an engineer for the sake of safety in aviation?
I would really say that even right before you take in that pressure, you have to come to realize that before you start this journey, it is something that you have to be conversant with.
Okay.
If it is nature says that you can't really be a man of all works. And we do accept that.
All right.
But at least be conversant. Not with everything, but just a touch of everything.
Basics?
Yes.
Okay.
And if you know, like, for example, tomorrow I'm going to work on the brake system. Why don't I just spend this coming night, let's say I sit down, I research about it. Because first of all, being in a company, there is that full access to the manuals and resources. Because we don't just have that maintenance manual itself, but you also have what we'll call the operation manual for the aircraft itself, and that comes from the company that has manufactured that plane. And so, and when you go to Google, there is also much more information for you to know. And so you come to realize that even before you go out there and meet that pressure, experience it, and have to take it in, all in, you have to read and study and understand what you're going to do. Because you can imagine the pressure hitting you, but you're not understanding what you're doing.
Yes.
First of all, you will either overlook things, or two, you will miss something. And the last one, which I always say, is probably you'll find a shortcut.
And that is like the worst direction,
yes.
Getting to find that shortcut, because most of the times they've lost lives to people who have decided they want to try out a shortcut.
Exactly.
One of the worst things. And of course, I want to now talk about the passenger safety. Usually I say this as we wrap up, because that's your engineer side of it. What you do to ensure the aircraft is all good. When I have hosted, I think, motorsport, you know, enthusiast and also a very key driver in that industry. And aviation, I think he was also an engineer. And one of the things that they put on the top of their list when it comes to safety was this safety belt. As we're speaking, I don't know how many people have experienced full seat belts in either matatus in their own vehicles, and they think it's one of those things that, okay, should come at maybe number 10. Yeah, and I want to hear about, you know, if I'm a passenger and I'm boarding today, how should I be carrying out myself in that plane? And even as we wait for you to answer, I want to remind all the Kenyans that we're coming in with a big conversation. Today is Wednesday, April 27th. You know, 3 days, and of course this is the last day that Kenyans are being allowed into the parliament buildings to actually pay their last respects to the former President Mwai Kibaki. As we're speaking, this is something you're seeing on your screen. We are doing our best to have that live coverage for you. And my next guest, of course, going to be gracing the show shortly, will be giving us, you know, a bit of understanding on why this was very significant for the entire country. Why Kenyans had to be given 3 days, even before we move over to other, you know, key state funeral arrangements, like what we're going to be happening in Nyayo Stadium on Friday. So I'm giving you that just so you understand that the screen is showing you the live situation at the Parliament grounds this morning. And if you're a Kenyan, just to remind you, you need to dress appropriately. All right, these are parliament buildings. You need to respect that and also respect the president and the former president, as it is who is now resting, the late Mwai Kibaki. So if you're watching us and you're still planning to leave, remember it is open. And now you're seeing citizens queuing and also, of course, following closely on how this is going to go throughout the day. But remember, you're watching #TheMorningDrift. Ask as many questions as you want as we are continuing to mourn as an entire country. So it is #TheMorningDrift. And this, of course, exercise began on Monday following the state order. We saw, of course, the body of and the casket of the former president of the Republic of Kenya, the late Mwai Kibaki, you know, being brought in a very colorful procession there. We saw the army and the military giving their respects. We saw the 19-gun salute. And so far, we have also really witnessed that the flags are lowered. And just to bring to your attention that this is an entire, you know, nation's mourning period. It's quite a dark time. And of course, televised was the confirmation by President Uhuru Kenyatta on Friday, the 22nd of April, that we had lost the former president of the Republic of Kenya, and the late Mwai Kibaki was the third president of the Republic of Kenya. We continue to have that coverage live as we're speaking. Moses is on location and will be joining us for the big conversation. But first, of course, I just want to conclude on the Arrive Alive. Taking this very seriously, we've also lost, you know, key leaders in this country, politicians, of course, on aircraft crashes. Some were personal aircrafts. I'm remembering the one, Late Saitoti. And so it's still important to understand what kind and not overlooked. And thank you very much, engineer, for being part of this conversation. So before I took us to the live event, I was talking about the personal responsibility of the passenger in that aircraft as far as safety is concerned.
You know, once you board an aircraft, there are people assigned to take care of you there. And most people, or rather not everyone, will feel like, okay, this air hostess, his or her work is just to serve me food and ensure that I'm okay. But not everyone will know that everyone in that crew has gone through the highest scrutiny and a lot of what I would call training exercises to ensure that they are ready for any occasion. If, for example, there is a water accident, they will know what to do. If there is a land accident, they will know what to do. If there is a pressurization accident, whereby there is a lot of, you're losing air within the aircraft, they will know what to do. And when we board an aircraft, there's always a certain protocol that we have to follow.
Yes.
You know, sit down, put in your seat belts. Once you're done that, when you are about to take off,
Yes.
and they always say let your seat belts be on all through.
All through. Yes.
Or if you have to go to the lavatory, at least you can remove it. But in segments of a flight like takeoff, landing, your seatbelt has to be there.
Okay.
Now, just next to your leg area, there is normally a small booklet that is showing you the procedures and everything, what you do have to do when this thing happens. And I believe in Kenya, that has been put even in English and Kiswahili language.
All right.
For everyone to understand it.
Okay.
And they always emphasize, or rather, when you enter everyone has boarded the plane,
yes.
and everyone has sat down, and we are just about to leave the gate, they always say, now, can everyone read through? And they know very well that not everyone will do.
But it is
so what do they do?
Yes.
They put a televised video.
Okay.
Just giving a summary of everything that is in that booklet. They'll tell you behind you, below you there's a life vest, up there is an oxygen mask that will come out in case of a pressurization or a smoke accident. And you feel like probably it's just protocol. But what if it happens?
What if?
Yes.
It happens. And I know we want to have this for an hour or more.
Yes.
But I really want to appreciate your time.
Yes.
It sometimes feels very short, but I can imagine the amount of knowledge that someone can pick from the Arrive Alive in just that very short time. It will impact you in tremendous ways. Yeah. So will it your family, because we're speaking about arriving alive.
Yes.
Whether you're using the air means or rail, or you are using Mkokoteni, cart, either way, you want to be safe on those roads. It's all about mobility, and for that matter, arriving alive, ni safari bora. Okay, so guys, talk to me. If you want Moses to come back, let us know at Look Up TV. We're live on Facebook, and also appreciate him for, the best he has given us, and we wish him all the best. And thank you very much for saying integrity and safety comes first.
Yes.
All the best.
Thank you.
You will come back again, won't you?
Definitely. Give me the chance.
You have been given all the chances, because we care about you all watching from back at home and from wherever you're watching us from, because this is a message of love. As Mr. Orochat would always say, road safety is a message of love, and only those who care about you and truly love you will share it with you. My name is Anki Dorisambat, but I'm not wrapping this up, as we are in the state of mourning in this country, and of course, including all Kenyans in diaspora. We're bringing in a live coverage for you for the third day, where the public has been allowed to actually view the body of the late president, that is former President Mwai Kibaki, who is now the late. Remember, April coming in very significantly at this time, as the same month where we laid to rest the first, former First Lady, who was the wife to now the late Mwai Kibaki. Also, it is this same April 2013 that Mwai Kibaki, the late now, of course, stepped down from power. A lot more analysis coming to you on the big conversation with Mrs. Mary Ariviza already on standby. We'll be right back. Don't go too far.
Make those payments and take dinner out the freezer. Enjoy your day off.
Hey.
How was your day?
Great.
Did you pay the bills?
Abby did it.